it. Ortberg took the opportunity to point out the glaring hypocrisy, stating that Prince Harry's criticism rang hollow when his own life and career had been significantly bolstered by corporate dollars. According to Ortberg, it's easy to take the moral high ground when you're ignoring the ground you're standing on. That statement hit hard, resonating with both critics and supporters who've grown increasingly skeptical of Harry's public stances. The backlash didn't just stop with Boeing's CEO. Military veterans, defense experts, and even some prominent public figures weighed in, questioning Harry's judgment and approach. Many veterans expressed gratitude for Boeing's efforts to provide meaningful career paths and rehabilitation programs. One veteran bluntly stated, "They've done more for me and my brothers and sisters in arms than a royal speech ever could." That sentiment echoed widely, turning the tide of public opinion against Harry's remarks. Meanwhile, the media latched onto the story with fervor, dissecting every aspect of Harry's comments. Some outlets praised him for raising an ethical concern that, on the surface, seemed valid. But a much larger portion of the coverage focused on the perceived hypocrisy and recklessness of his actions. Headlines like *Prince Harry's Boeing blunder *and *the hypocrisy of royal morality * began dominating social media feeds, sparking heated debates across platforms. What made things even more volatile was Harry's refusal to back down. Instead of issuing a clarification or walking back his comments, he doubled down in subsequent interviews, further criticizing the role of defense contractors in global conflicts. He framed his stance as part of a broader effort to challenge the status quo, but this only deepened the divide. Critics interpreted his remarks as out of touch with the realities faced by veterans and the industries supporting them. At this point, the controversy had grown far beyond the Invictus Games. It was now a question of ethics, reputation, and credibility, not just for Boeing and Harry, but for the games themselves. Sponsors began to tread carefully, issuing statements of their own to avoid being dragged into the conflict. Some quietly distanced themselves from the drama, while others reaffirmed their commitment to the games, ensuring their focus remained on the athletes and their stories of resilience. But Harry's critics weren't done. They started digging deeper into his own affiliations, pointing out the irony of his relationship with Netflix, a company that's faced its fair share of ethical scrutiny, particularly regarding its content choices and corporate practices. The narrative shifted to Harry's broader role as a public figure who had built a life outside the royal family through deals and sponsorships, often with entities far removed from the ideals he claimed to uphold. This wasn't lost on the public. Social media exploded with commentary, memes, and threads dissecting every aspect of the controversy. Hashtags like #hypocriticalHarry and #InvictusIntegrity began trending alongside #SupportOurVeterans. It seemed everyone had an opinion, with some defending Harry's right to question corporate ethics, while others lambasted him for what they saw as a self-serving, tone-deaf approach. Behind the scenes, the Invictus Games Foundation worked tirelessly to manage the fallout. They issued carefully worded statements emphasizing their mission to support veterans and promote recovery, subtly distancing themselves from the controversy without explicitly denouncing Harry's remarks. Privately, however, some insiders expressed frustration, questioning whether Harry's involvement was becoming more of a liability than an asset. And then came the unexpected twist. Boeing announced an expansion of its veteran support programs, pledging millions more toward initiatives aimed at helping wounded warriors transition to civilian life. The move was widely seen as a strategic countermove, a way to reaffirm their commitment to veterans while subtly undermining Harry's criticism. The announcement was met with widespread praise from veterans organizations, further isolating Harry in the court of public opinion. Still, Harry remained defiant, insisting in an interview that he was simply asking the hard questions that needed to be addressed. But by this point, the damage had been done. His critics had successfully framed the narrative around his perceived hypocrisy, and even some of his supporters began to question whether this was a battle worth fighting. The irony of the situation couldn't be ignored. The Invictus Games, an event designed to unite and inspire, had become a flashpoint for division and controversy. What was supposed to be a celebration of resilience and recovery had turned into a battleground for corporate ethics and personal credibility. And at the center of it all was Prince Harry, a man whose every move seemed to spark debate, whether intentional or not. As the games continued, the athletes themselves tried to stay focused on what really mattered: their performance, their recovery, and their stories of overcoming adversity. Many expressed frustration with the way the controversy had overshadowed their efforts. One athlete remarked, "We didn't come here to be part of a political argument. We came here to compete, to heal, and to inspire." That sentiment struck a chord with many observers, serving as a stark reminder of what the Invictus Games were supposed to represent. The controversy may have dominated headlines, but for the athletes and their supporters, the focus remained on the core values of resilience, honor, and recovery. In the end, the Boeing-Harry feud became a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing corporate sponsorships with personal agendas. It also highlighted the complexities of modern philanthropy, where ethical questions often intersect with the practical realities of funding and support. For Prince Harry, it was another chapter in a life that has been anything but ordinary, a life marked by bold choices, public scrutiny, and relentless controversy. As for the Invictus Games, they carried on, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. But the shadow of the controversy lingered, a reminder that even the most well-intentioned events are not immune to the complexities of the modern world. Whether the Games will emerge stronger from this ordeal remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the conversation around ethics, sponsorships, and the role of public figures in shaping narratives is far from over. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. In a world where every action is scrutinized, where every word can spark a global debate, the line between right and wrong isn't always clear. But what is clear is that actions have consequences, and those consequences often reach far beyond what anyone could have anticipated. For Prince Harry, Boeing, and the Invictus Games, this was a lesson learned the hard way.